This is conversation number 1 of the Principal Components podcast.
I think it starts as like, yo, like I love this, like having that fantasy of like, yo, what if I played this on Jimmy Kimmel or something, you know? But yeah, so it starts like that, but you're trash. Of course you're garbage because you're just starting out.
I'm Tommy Zhao, and you were just listening to Doug Grande, our first guest on this podcast. Doug is absolutely right when he says that we're going to be garbage when we're starting out at anything. So if you're listening, and I probably know all 3 of you, let me know what you think, what I can improve. If there was any time for me to be a dumbass, it would be now, when there is nobody trying to cancel me. And I know that for a fact because we are starting from 0. Should be pretty cool to see where this podcast goes. This podcast journey starts with Doug Grande. Doug is a musician, guitarist, and civil engineering student here at the Penn State University. I highly recommend checking out his SoundCloud for a sneak peek at his musical genius. He's already got a few songs out. I'll put the link in the description. I've also been roommates with him for the past year, so naturally, he was the first person I went to get someone on this podcast. Hope you enjoy this first online conversation of mine with Doug Grande.
Hello, I'm back. Let's go. Got another episode. Hello, we back. Hello and welcome. Hello.
Thanks for having me, Tommy.
All right, so a little context. Early Friday morning, cloudy weather, not the best time, but also our semester is over.
Dude, it's an interesting, I actually want to talk about this because I always feel this way when I finally finish the semester. I expect to be like really relieved, like, oh, it's finally over. But I always get this feeling of just like kind of anxiety, like some stress. It's like, I still feel like I'm in it. But like all the anxiety from the exams and the classes, like kind of just like transfers and manifests itself in like different ways. And then like I have to kind of like deal with that the first week of like summer. So I don't know. Do you get like something like that?
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like it's being channeled, but like no longer into your schoolwork, just into whatever. Yeah, I'm getting that energy sort of right now because my school is over for me, but I'm sort of trying to channel that into this podcast. So, and whatever else I got going on.
Right. Yeah, man. I remember the summer after freshman year of college, dude. It just hit me so hard, like just that feeling of like, oh, dude, what is going on? What am I on right now? And then it was kind of different for, last year because of COVID. It was like, oh, everything is still so weird.
Everything was so different last year.
Yeah, but honestly, I think this is like the best like transition I've had, where it's like going into the summer mode and the mind is like kind of like catching up. Like it still takes a little bit, but yeah. I walked out this morning, looked at the greenery around our apartments, and you think a little bit differently. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah, I think you'll find that feeling a lot different during your senior year.
Oh, for sure, man. Dude, this is crazy because you're graduating today.
Today?
Like we're doing this
afternoon.
This is like your thoughts before being done with college, bro. Like this is nuts.
Yeah, a bit of a historical moment for myself.
Yeah. Like I'm interested. What is like the main thing that's like running through your head right now? Like what's the main like emotion?
Honestly, I feel like normally I'd be relieved. Like I would think I'd be relieved. But at the same time, we live in such a fast-paced world. Like I feel like the grind has not stopped.
Yeah.
Even though like I don't have to take exams anymore.
Right.
But I still feel like if I'm not doing something with my time, it just eats at me. Like I could be, doing this, for example, which is what I'm doing. But, if I wasn't doing anything, I wouldn't feel good about it, which is strange because I feel like most people would enjoy like a vacation.
Right. Or just having some time off to just, relax.
Yeah, just having some time off.
Yeah, I'm the same way though, where if I'm not doing something, like particularly like with music, like if I don't feel like I go to bed and like I've learned something like monumental in terms of something I can build off of, I just feel like bad. Like I feel like, that's a day wasted. Like, I could have done more. It's like, it's not the best way to think about it, but I think it really drives you to keep going, and keep pushing forward into the unknown. So
True.
yeah, I think we have that in common.
Yeah, I definitely need to enjoy my time off though. Now that the grind of school is over, so hopefully I'll get to that this summer.
Right.
We're both starting our careers, so I mean, in your case, you're studying engineering, but your actual passions are in music. So, so what are your thoughts on like your career aspirations, considering that we're both in the College of Engineering, but we're also like our goals aren't to be an engineer in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what are your career aspirations there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can say that like I really don't know what my aspirations are. Like I know what I want to be doing. Like I want to be really good at like writing songs and like singing and playing guitar and like doing stuff with music. Like that's the thing that like I'm obsessed with. But in terms of making like a career out of that, no idea. I have no idea how to do that. I have no idea what the path forward would be for that.
So like, how are you gonna? And this is just a question for you. How does one start out in the music world? I mean, you're not there yet, but like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I think it always starts out as like a hobby, like something that you're really interested in. Like when I look back on like middle high school time, when I was first starting to play the guitar and first starting to like the seeds of writing songs were there. I think it starts as like, I love this, like having that fantasy of like, what if I played this on Jimmy Kimmel or something, But yeah, so it starts like that, but you're trash. Of course, you're garbage because you're just starting out, but you're always garbage when you are first starting at something. So it kind of becomes like you're accepting that you're bad at this thing, but you know where you want to be and you know how good you want to be, and you know that you're obsessed with it. So it kind of evolves from that hobby perspective into like, I want to be doing this all the time. Then once you're doing it all the time, you get to the point where I can like start sending this out, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I think that's an important point where I feel like a lot of people get a little bit too anxious. Like, I mean, me included, where like you maybe record something and you're like, oh, I got to get this out. It's like, let it marinate a little bit, dude, improve a little bit before you just jump into something.
Yeah.
I think it's important that, especially with music, it takes like a lot of time to get to the point where you can start like doing something with it.
Like what is music? It's like there's the production element, right? And then there's also the creative element.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the production element that takes the most effort, I'd say. Like getting the high quality recordings. Because like I feel like even kids could have some sort of creative input in terms of creating music.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think it does take a long time to like refine that creative input because, I mean, at a face level, I think that creativity is not something that you can just like, well, you can build upon it obviously, but I think innately, like some people are just more creative than others. They have that like feeling of like, I want to like create something. There are people that, just want to do things, I think, I mean, of course it's a spectrum, but I think there is like a distinction between those two different mindsets. And,
though I think creativity is like sort of intertwined with identity and obviously creating art through one's identity plays a big role in music and other creative endeavors.
For sure. Yeah, I think that is true, but I think even more than that, especially for music, I mean, there are people that are like that where it's like, they pour themselves out into a song or whatever. I think the biggest thing about it is, at least for me, is just like kind of capturing like some sort of like feeling, like that is the essence of music to me. It's like feeling something, and then you put lyrics to that, and then it like channels that into, a thought or a profound experience. But the main part of it is just like, knowing what you want to feel in your head like what kind of emotion you want to capture, and then
Trying to put that into actual sound waves.
Yeah, somehow channeling that through a guitar, piano, and through singing into something. And that process like just blows my mind every time. It's like, how does this work? How can we just like feel things and then, play a few chords on the guitar and then like it reoccurs? It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
It's kind of crazy. But that's what makes it so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish you good luck in getting that started.
Yeah, thank you, man.
This podcast is something that I'm also starting out. And it's a lot. It's in a sense like what you're doing with music, sort of a creative endeavor.
Right.
How is it that we can translate our feelings into these words? There's a whole like brain region dedicated to that, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's no science to it; just words come out. So it's a bit of an art in that sense. But this isn't what I really want to do as a career. This is more of a side thing that, as I mentioned in the introduction, it's something to just create a platform to meet people and discuss things. Yeah, so I want to talk about starting a career.
Okay.
Sort of in our generation, because times have changed. And so you want your career to be in music, but you're also studying civil engineering.
Right.
So how do you see your career starting out? Is it going to be as an engineer, or are you just going to go straight into music? What do you like? What's your realistic expectations, and then what are your idealistic expectations?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I mean, if I can speak honestly, like I just have no idea. Like it's kind of just like a haze where it's like I've been putting off that like thought of like, what will I do in engineering? What will I do with this engineering degree? Like for so long. Like,
see, I think your thoughts resonate so much with our generation.
Yeah.
There's just, I don't know what you call it, like uncertainty. Maybe it's just like overwhelming the amount of choices we have.
Right. I think that's just like the 20s vibe. It's like, what am I doing? That is the ultimate question of the 20s. Like, what is going on? What am I doing? You got to kind of figure it out. And I think being in that phase of just not knowing like what's ahead is like, it can be really like anxiety inducing, but it's also kind of just like, it's fun being in that phase. Cause like, I can be anywhere in a couple months, a couple years. So yeah, at this point, it's like the real important thing to me is just, you got to keep improving, keep getting better at what you want to do, what you love. Put as much time into that as possible.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. As long as you're improving yourself, that's better than staying still.
Yeah, dude, like, bro, I spend so much time sometimes just like watching YouTube videos. It's like, that is such a waste of time.
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
you can learn a lot from YouTube.
True, but it depends. Like,
depends if you're watching just memes.
Yeah.
As sort of 20s people, we're still figuring out our lives.
Right.
But more recently, I've been like trying to like set some concrete goals, some things I want to get done, and that's sort of because I realized, not that I realized, it's just that I care about like my future self and the future of everyone around me. So it's like, if I don't do something about, or if I don't try to do something, then I just sort of feel bad, like that I'm not doing anything for the people around me or for, society as a whole.
Yeah.
Like in our generation, it seems like people don't seem to understand what really matters to them, like what they really care about. What do you think of the fact that a lot of people in our generation don't seem to be working for something bigger than themselves. You know, they seem to be just completely lost. Like, at least you have a passion, and that's music.
I think, yeah, one interesting way to like get into that discussion is like how like the way that technology and everything is manufactured around us, it's almost kind of made to distract us, to keep us from thinking about those, big questions or whatever. Like, oh, keep scrolling through TikTok, keep looking at YouTube videos, keep scrolling through Instagram, it's...
I don't know if it was made, but it certainly
that's how
profits
they
that way.
They profit. They want to keep you on that app as long as possible. They want to keep you hooked. It's like all things,
Mm-hmm.
all big companies, capitalistic.
Yeah, it's like Walmart wants to keep you in Walmart as long as possible.
Lord knows we spend enough time in Walmart too.
Yeah. Breaking through that onslaught of just things vying for your attention. Like, instead of spreading yourself across a million different things, it's like, in order to break through that and really discover yourself, you have to stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
But that's in conflict, obviously, with the way things currently are.
Yeah.
And I hope people can figure that out, better ways to do this social media stuff.
Right. I think it can be kind of like weird if you like really love something and it doesn't align with like the path you're on, like, for me, for example. But there's like something secure in that feeling of like knowing that like this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I love, like this is what I want to do. Like, that at least. But there's a lot of people that don't like have that kind of idea of like what they love, like what they want to spend their time on. It can be kind of like a feeling of failure, like, oh, what am I doing? Or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's sort of a principal component, if I may, of feeling insecure.
If you must, Tom.
Like, if you love something enough, like, that's, as you said, like a source of security for your identity, for your career, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what do you think causes sort of insecurity, sort of lack of self-esteem, beyond just like congenital or cultural? Or...
Well, yeah, of course, there's always going to be something about your body where it's like, I could have had this better. I could have, been a little bit, lighter. I could have, been a little bit taller. Like, there's always going to be that stuff. But I think it really comes down to, I think it's just that feeling of you're not good enough, like, as a person. You should, like, there's people that are doing better than you. Like, you're not doing enough. At least for me, like, that's what it comes down to. Like, I could be doing more, and I'm not where I want to be. I think that's a huge thing.
See, that's the thing with this society we live in anyways. It's like just wanting to live like a very average life, like with no giant aspirations, no grand ambitions.
Yeah.
Just wanting to live that simple 9-to-5 family life seems to be like, if not underrated, then not even valued, or less valued, at least, compared with, say, running 10 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's obviously a byproduct of capitalism. We reward productivity. That's just how it is. But like, in a more perfect society, in a more ideal society, wouldn't you think, or what do you think people that live just ordinary, I'm not sure how to say it, just ordinary, non-aspiring lives, that they would be able to just live fine and have all the accommodations, to do that? Because as of now, it seems like this is not the society we live in.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I feel like for me, like, that would just like kill me to say, oh, just do nothing, or not do nothing, but just like not have any like big ambitions. But on the general scale, I think that there's something, very rewarding in that kind of sense, where it's like, you know, you just kind of like live for the experience, and or the experience of just being a person, I guess, you know, doing your thing. I mean, in some sense, you kind of have to put something in to get something out, right? Like, you can't do nothing. But
True. Yeah. I mean, this is a big question that very many smart people are working on. You know, with all this automation coming,
yeah,
with obviously globalization that's been going on, and Andrew Yang wrote a book on this. But it seems like normal people that don't have marketable skills seem to be being pushed out of this economy, which is a shame, because not having marketable skills doesn't mean that you're not a worthy human being, you know, deserving of basic needs.
tell me, by the way, for that camera turn on.
All right, let's have a break real quick just to check on this camera.
Okay. Tommy, I like what you brought up, bro, about the marketable skill thing, because now that you said that, like, I know exactly what you mean, where it's like, I think in a way, like, in our school system, we kind of like encourage like these divisions of marketable skills. Like, these are the things you're going to learn about. These are the things that are going to take you places. But there's a lot of people that just don't fit into that. And in a sense, they kind of get left behind because they are kind of failed by the school system, right? So like, what does that mean for those people that are just, you know, they have potential. They're no less of a person than anybody else,
but their potential isn't valued by the system that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a tough question. I think, you know, society has a lot to offer. You know, it's done a lot. We wouldn't be here talking, you know, if not for the long path that society took to where we currently are. But I like to think about it in terms of value, and not just like economic value. Society, if you think about it, is like a mega organism. It's something formed by smaller cells, and that being us people.
Yeah, humans are just like we're a hive mind, kind of. Like we are an organism. Like, the human race is like a thing.
Well, see, that's what I mean by society. The society is like a giant organism that couldn't survive if not for the humans that make it up. You know, if all humans returned to monkey, you know, we would no longer, society would be dead. There would be none of that. You know, there would be no capitalism, no government.
No language.
Okay, maybe language,
No
but
language.
yeah, it's like the way humans organize ourselves, and that's what forms this mega organism. And like any organism on Earth, it has some basic needs. It needs to survive, it needs to you know, persist. Needs to not so much reproduce, but to grow and to improve itself, to be more resilient, so it can last longer, and so our kids can have better lives, and so on. So it's this giant mega organism that has its own sort of meta goals, as you might say. But the problem is that if you have a goal, there are only so many ways of getting to that goal. And if we as a society value, say, I don't know what we value, like, for example, family, like education, sort of, what are the things that perpetuate the current system? That's what the society values. And our current system here in America is very capitalistic, very sort of survival of the fittest in terms of like economics.
Right. You can rise. You can rise in the system.
like economics is the primary way that we assign value to what's good for society and what's bad. The society wants to perpetuate itself. It wants to reinforce a behavior that strengthens it. And unfortunately, that means behavior that goes against it, against this status quo of rampant capitalism. Well, it's not so much penalized, but it isn't rewarded.
Yeah.
And so we end up with people that are failed by the school systems because the school systems are just a function of the system. And I guess, I don't know what to say. I think in a more ideal world, and this is sort of a sci-fi concept, but what if there was a world where, like, people can move to any country, and every country was completely self-sufficient, and every country, and there were, I don't want to say infinite, but there are so many countries that, like, and each one has a different, like, social system, and each one has a different value system.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there are sufficient number of countries where anyone can move to any country and be satisfied with the state of their life in that country.
Yeah, dude, I've thought about that. Like, why can't I just, like, live in England? Like, why do I need to go through, like, the whole process? Like, why can't I just be like, yo, I'm gonna post up here for a little bit. Like, can I chill here? Like, yo, well, what's up, Amsterdam? Can I, like, can I chill here for a little bit? Like, can you? If I was like a tourist, I'm like, yo, I want to chill here for a little bit. Why can't I? I mean, obviously, there's on a more, like, dire situation. Like families in Mexico that were like, I want to move here. Can I chill here for a little bit? Can I start a family in America? Nah, bro. Wait a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like, as with all utopias, there's some, like, hidden flaw in that system. And if you have, like, a system where there are countries that satisfy everyone's need, should they choose to move there, like, there are a lot of problems. Like, what if you don't speak the language? Then in order for that system to work, we'd all have to have, like, a similar, or, like, one central system for transporting people.
Yeah.
And a central system for, like, having young adults decide where they want to move. But at the same time, those adults can't decide where they're born.
And plus, it also depends heavily on, do you got moolah? Like, can you pay? Can you, if we let you in here, you're going to be able to pay taxes,
Yeah, economics, that's a real factor. And, that's not so much a problem in utopias.
Yeah, that's never going to go away. At least I don't think it will.
Yep. So here we are in this imperfect world.
It's an imperfect world, but it's the only one we got. That's from Tony Stark said that.
It is the only one we got until we get to Mars. Yeah, we talk a lot about future endeavors of mankind, like, offline.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we disagree on is the ethics of implanting animals with neuralink.
Yes.
Like,
this is a very heated topic.
We got very heated on this, so we wanted to save this for the podcast.
Well, yes. So, Tommy, present your side of the argument.
Well, see, I don't have an argument. I'm just posing the possibility.
Yeah.
Like, what if you could expand your dogs, and, like, you own a pug? Like, what if you could expand your dog's intelligence to the point that they could communicate with you, like, through language that you understand, and they could, like, they just have greater intelligence. Like, what if, like, Brian Griffin or, like, Scooby-Doo were a possibility? Like, what are the ethics on that? What are your thoughts?
I think it's completely unethical, yo. Like this should never be done ever.
Really?
Because dogs are dogs, and people love dogs because they're not humans. If you make this bull a human,
Well,
a dog,
okay, we're not making them a human here.
but if you're giving them the human like staples, like being able to talk, being able to have a conversation, like we're doing right now, like, are they really a dog at that point? Like, they are. They look like a dog, but the purpose of dogs is to like, be your companion. Kind of like your little like servant, your little dog servant, your little furry servant. It's like making that thing something that it's not is completely unnatural, and because of that, just seems so just wrong to me.
But is it not unnatural that we bred beings like a pug in the first place? Is that not unnatural?
No, that is, and I think that's unethical too. I tell my mom that all the time. My mom's like, "Yo, I want to become a pug breeder." I'm like, "Mom, no, you are not. Like, no, you can't do that." Like. We're not going to screw up this freaking species any more than we already have. Like, no. But like, we always get pugs, so I can't really say anything about that.
I mean, we've already gone down that path of modifying animals to our vision. So, like,
of course we've
unethical
gone that
as it may be.
But that's not an excuse for, like, where we can go. It's just because we started down the path, we might as well see it through. No. We gotta cut this thing at the bud somewhere. You know what I mean?
But Murphy's Law, if something can happen, it will happen.
I'm not saying it won't. It definitely will happen. There definitely will be a Scooby-Doo somewhere.
Like, Neuralink already implanted a pig with one of their devices. Obviously, it's not going to make him talk, but, like, you can imagine 50, 60 years down the line, we'll have, like, a language module for dogs that you could just implant. And then your dog will be like, yo, hello.
Yo. Give me a hot dog.
I want my hot dog, Mr. Doug.
Mr. Doug, I'm about to take a dump on this rug if you don't take me out in 5 minutes. No, I think the beauty of having dogs is like, at least from my experience, like you gotta like kind of figure out like what's going on. Like, yo, dog, like what are you doing? Like, what do you want from me? It's like that beautiful like banter that's not really banter because they can't talk, but it's like you're interfacing with your dog without. Like that all that kind of already happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that also happens between humans.
True.
Like, I'm trying to figure out what you're about. Just because you can talk doesn't mean I know what's going on in your life or anyone else's life.
Yeah.
So, like, the way I see it, giving animals, like, language or expanded intelligence just helps facilitate or doesn't... It expands what our relationship with animals could be.
Yeah, I think it's a question of how you expand that, though. Because, of course, I think developing a stronger bond with the species is a good thing, and it would probably pose a lot of good. But, like, if you look throughout history, that's been done over the courses of, thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. Doing that in, like, 100 years, is that, like, I feel like it doesn't follow the requirement of society. Like, we're doing it to see what would happen and like how that would work, but we're not doing it because the two things are coexisting with each other. Like, the way that the evolution happens follows the needs of like we're kind of just doing it because we can and because Tommy wants a Scooby-Doo. You know what I mean?
We're doing it because it follows the needs of humans. Just kidding.
You know what I mean, though? Like, if you're expediting that process, you're making it happen, like, way faster than it would naturally. It's not happening because that's what the two species are doing for each other. It's happening because...
Just because one species wants to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining, like, chimpanzees with, like, Neuralink implants, like, working in factories in, like, 50 years down the line. And
monkey see, monkey do.
I think it's a real possibility. And perhaps not the most ethical, but...
It's going to happen somewhere. It's got to. They're going to freaking clone people too. They're going to make hybrids. They already have. There's going to be crazy stuff going on in 20 years, and I can't wait to watch. And also be like, yo, that's unethical. But still, like, oh, yo, what's going on over here?
So you wouldn't want to be able to talk with your dog?
No. I think it's better when that dog is just like, the dog.
Are there any animals that you would want to be able to talk with?
Honestly, yeah, probably gorillas and chimpanzees. But just because, they're so much like us, like bonobos and stuff, and elephants, just because I know that they do have that level of intelligence that's way above the rest of the animal kingdom. See, like, what's up with them? how they like think about things and how that's different from us. I'd also want to talk to like,
I feel like gorillas wouldn't be that surprising.
yeah,
It'd be like
because we already had Coco, right? Like,
we already had Coco. You give them a Neuralink, they start talking. It's like, oh wait, this is a redditor. Oh wait.
Bro, I would want to put a Neuralink, like just like some type of language in like an insect though. So like when I like put my foot above them, like see just like them freaking out. Like what do they say? Like
I don't know if insects have the capacity. Like language is like you gotta. There's some layers you gotta get before you get to language.
True, but like if we could just like let like their most basic functions like be expressed in language, like can you imagine, bro, being a small little thing and just like you're basically like imagining us, but like we're seeing like actual like Titans from Attack on Titan. Like that's what being a spider is like, you know?
Yeah, except the way they see, it's probably like their small eyes are probably like diffusing the entire like room into like a couple colors.
Right.
It's like, oh, the scene is white. The sky is now blue. Oh, I found some food.
Oh, here comes Big Beast Doug about to freaking squash me. 1-2 Mayweather, 3-4 McGregor. Bro, do you ever like look at like a tiger on a YouTube video and just think like, whoa, like this thing is crazy. Like, could you imagine being in the jungle somewhere, just look behind you, just seeing tigers staring at you? I think about that sometimes. It's like that thing is huge. That thing would rip me to shreds.
I mean, they got to be really desperate, and at that point, yeah, that's one scary tiger.
Yeah, man, those things just got huge triceps too. It's like, damn, this bull's been doing this, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the way it walks, it's like
just
walking on its triceps.
Yeah, man. I think about that with a lot of animals. Like, if I actually saw this in the wild, if I saw a chimpanzee in the wild, like, it's over. Like, that's my Joe Rogan, like, feelings, you know?
It's over? Dude, you're one with the ape. You could just, you know...
Nah, bro. Chimpanzees are mean, bro. They'll freaking kill you in a heartbeat.
Don't, like, provoke them. You can't provoke them.
I mean, don't provoke them, but, like, they're just mean. You know? They're mean and they're huge. They're jacked. Like, if you saw a bear with their cubs, like, it's over. Like, what are you going to do?
Not mess with their cubs and leave them alone?
Yo, Mr. Cub, can I put a Neuralink in you?
Yeah,
Mom's like...
Talking bears. We're going to get the Bernstein bears in no time, thanks to Elon Musk.
Ozzy Bear. Yogi Bear. Tommy, I want to ask you, bro, what are your major aspirations for this summer? Like, what do you see yourself when you get back to Horsham? Well, I guess you're going to be doing some more stuff up here, too. Like, what is it that you really want to accomplish this summer, Tommy?
Okay, well, let me detail my master plans.
Okay, yeah, please do.
First of all, you know, I just graduated. I'm trying to get this career of mine off the ground. And in this day and age, you need an online presence if you want to do anything tech related. And I feel like in general, like growing up as Generation Z, like having an online presence, whether that's some sort of social media or a website, YouTube channel, whatever, it's like crucial for like getting people connected with you.
Necessity.
And you know, I'm a bit nostalgic for like the old days where we just met everyone in person. But like the reality is, like if you're not connecting with people online, you're falling behind. And so that's the mission for this summer. It's to establish sort of like home base.
No, yeah, that's a very good goal.
On the internet. A big goal of mine is to get this YouTube channel started, get this podcast, figure out like how to distribute this podcast. I've been looking at like various podcast distributors and it seems pretty straightforward, but you know, I gotta work out like a logo for this podcast still. I'll probably make it in like two seconds on Paint because you know, not like anyone's paying attention at these early stages.
You got Photoshop though, right?
Yeah.
Don't you go through the school? Now you graduated.
I still have it for like quite a while.
Oh, okay.
maybe, I don't know, a couple months after I graduate.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, online presence, that's a big goal for this summer. Obviously, I'll start my job. And so until then, with all that free time I have, I'll probably start that website. I mean, I already have a website. I got to, like, build it out. And then just keep talking with more people on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That'll be a bit more difficult once I move back to our hometown.
Yeah. It will be difficult to find, here you got all the professors chilling around, like.
Yeah. I mean, I could do, like, online, like, remote podcasts. And that would really expand my range of options.
Yeah.
My only concern is that, like, most people don't have, like, good mics.
Yeah.
And good cameras. Though the cameras isn't so much of a problem.
I mean, you could always, like, maybe travel a little bit. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of good things in the city and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to you, though,
Speaking of priorities, what are your priorities now that your junior year's over?
Yeah.
You got an entire summer. What are you focusing on?
I find that, I always want to be spending as much time playing and getting good at music as I can. But I find when I don't have something, like, in the background, like, if I don't have something that I'm supposed to be doing, it's harder for me to keep up with the music. Like, for example, like, if I'm doing school, it's easier for me to keep playing music for, like, a long period of time and, like, keep myself motivated to do that. But once I get into this period where I have a lot of free time, it's harder for me to, like stay, like, dedicated to playing music. I don't know why that is. It's like,
yeah, I totally feel that too.
Yeah, right?
It's like when I have this school to deal with, everything's so structured. Yeah. I have my time to, like, work on, like, my side projects or my hobbies. But once everything's been taken care of and it's just like, you're free to do whatever you want. It's like sort of, it's so ironic, like, how having the complete freedom to do whatever you want sort of makes it feel like you don't want to do what you want.
But yeah, so I feel like the last couple summers, that's what happened. Like, I'll get to the summer, I'll be like, finally I got time to play. And then one thing or another just comes in and I'm just getting constantly distracted. It goes back to what we were talking about, where, like, the distractions just kind of, like, seep in and start to eat up your time. Like, I'll play Rocket League for hours, with James or whatever. It's like, I really want to focus this summer on not letting that happen. Like, really making sure I'm putting, 4 hours a day into that, like, not losing that time. And I just want to make sure that I keep like producing songs and I keep writing new songs and I keep on that train.
Like, that problem is obviously, like, so widespread. I feel like everyone listening can relate.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like being so distracted with other things that you sort of lose sight of what really matters. And I don't know, like, how does one, what are some tips for, like, staying on track? Because I suffer from that too, like, just getting distracted, playing hours of Rocket League.
I think a big thing for that is not relying on motivation, because if you do that, you're only going to fail, right? If you're like, all right, I come in for the first 2 days, I'm motivated, like, let's do this. That motivation is not going to last, like, past the first week. Mm-hmm. You have to be dedicated. You have to have that drive. You got to keep going, regardless of how you feel when you wake up in the morning.
And I think it's not just drive. Like, obviously, at the end of the day, only you can help yourself. But I think it is also, it can be really helpful to have people that keep you accountable, whether it's a partner or a friend or social media. Like, if I put this podcast out there, right, suddenly I'm accountable for having this podcast. Yeah. So, like, it's sort of like creating external motivations that don't just rely on, like, how you feel a given day. Dude, to really keep going.
I think there's something interesting in that too, where it's like I started, like, releasing my songs for, like, the first time, like, this year, and like, you get that feedback and whatever, and it's like it's a rush because it's like, hey, people actually like this, like, I feel like there's something for me to jumping off point from here or whatever. But it's like it becomes a weird thing, at least in my mind, where it's like, am I doing this for the validation, for like, the people, for feedback, or am I doing this because I really love it? I feel like, especially in music, like you have to be able to distinguish between those two things and realize that you're not doing this, or you're not getting into this passion because you want to hear what other people think about it. You're doing this because you love it and you just want to like let it fly, and then everything that comes back is like a product of the time you put in because you love it so much, right? Yeah. Like that's been such a struggle for me, especially this semester. Like realizing that you don't. Like, I do this not because I want people to tell me that I'm great, but I do this because I want to be great, right? Yeah. That's really important for me.
And that's such a, like, big concern I also have just starting this podcast, like, trying to figure out, we're trying to make sure I'm doing it for the right reasons and not for any sort of validation. I mean, ego is a big part of it.
Oh my
Don't
gosh,
get me wrong.
It's huge, bro. And it just can kill you. It can completely just stop you in your tracks if you let it get a hold of you.
Yeah, so I have like the same worries. Like, I had to make sure like I'm doing this because it's something that I just want to do, and that's part of the reason why I'm making this sort of a side thing rather than like I'm not gonna make much money anyways, but I'm not making it my career. As a podcast host or anything. This is just something to do sort of for fun, to help grow myself and hopefully entertain some listeners, help some people out. And hopefully I can stay true to that.
It's really important to find something you love, I mean, work obviously is really important, and when you love what you do for work, it's great, but I think you need something over that, something that kind of coincides with that to like keep channeling your energy into, some facet that produces more for yourself and for other people. So I think, you got a good thing going here, But I like what you said about ego, bro, because we're both at a point where like ego should not even be a factor, but I still feel that sometimes. Like I still feel like the hints of ego like creeping into me. You just gotta, and I mean, a little bit of ego is of course a good thing because you're not a person without it, but
you gotta maintain a sort of identity.
Yeah. Because ego is not going to go away, but you need to find a way to have a consensual and good relationship with it. You can't let it be a toxic relationship where it just takes over. So
yeah, and I think that'll be better just for your craft, for your music, and certainly for this podcast.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, I think we've talked for a long time now. I think we had some good points there. Again, thanks for helping me get this off the ground, Doug.
Oh, for sure, bro. I love that we did this at such a
like seminal moment in history.
Well, yeah, but for both of our just, experiences going forward, like this is at the jumping off point for like different things, just in terms of like the time we're in.
It's like that trope where like, two people that grow up finally leave. Yeah. And like we're at that junction.
Yeah, bro. Like I'm filing my divorce papers right now, Tommy. Bro, I'm about to leave you, bro. Nah. But yeah, it's true, bro. Like this is the last day we're gonna be living together. Like what the heck? Mm-hmm. No more instant pot pastas, no more instant pot curries between the two of us.
Nope. No more Walmart trips.
No more Walmart trips.
No more trips to campus.
No more trips to campus. No more. What else? There's got to be something else. Why am I blanking?
We got so much, man.
Bro, no more of the freaking
clogged sink.
Oh my gosh, dude. Dude, can I tell you something? This apartment is driving me crazy. Like everything is just destroying itself in here. That's the one thing I cannot wait to be home. I got my good toilet. I got my good, sink. It's a shame. It's a shame what this place has become.
Yeah. Well, luckily, that's the one good thing of leaving this place. Finally, we can get our good toilets and sinks.
Oh my gosh, bro. That's all you need. That's all you need as a person.
Guess we'll call it there.
Indeed.
Thanks for coming on.
It's been a pleasure.